there's an American scholar who'd come to Japan. His name is Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And
4 days ago.
Oh, excellent. Right. Oh, I sent him the paper actually recently saying, hey, do you remember this? And so people were telling me in Japan, oh, there's this American and his collaborator, I think Peter Boone, they had written a post. There's a link between land prices and they were at MITI, the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, slightly renamed it now. It was a famous ministry supporting the economy and trade. And go there, it's pre-internet. So they will have the physical discussion paper that we had, Professor Sachs, okay, and that was the paper. So I went back to my research institute at the Development Bank, and because I was just a young researcher, I just slightly modify that, and I'm okay. I don't need to rediscover the wheel or come up with a great insight. But then I came to that sort of main part and conclusion, and therefore we conclude there is no link between real estate and capital flows. So at that point, I was really in trouble, and I needed divine intervention. Because, humanly, it was impossible to make this link. And all the experts were saying there's no link. But there was a link. And when I understood that, I knew exactly what data to get. Now, what Professor Sachs and Peter Boone were arguing was that, you see, if you're a Japanese landowner, you own this super expensive real estate. And now you figure out it's probably better if a buy.
Which they did.
So let's do it. They were arguing, well, we'd have to sell the land. Now, who's going to buy Japanese land? And it was true that foreigners were not buying Japanese land. It was totally overpriced. No foreigner would buy Japanese land. So only other Japanese would buy it. But that means the money stays in Japan. And that means there's no link. So that was their argument, you see. But I realized that's not how it works, because I'd spoken to a lot of practitioners. That's not how it works. And the solution is, and it's the solution to many other puzzles in economics, and to essentially almost all the big puzzles, and there's many in macroeconomics. Macroeconomics has not been successful for 200 years.
I've noticed.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a failure for 200 years, no progress. And that's actually official. There's a study in the what's it called? Journal of Economic Perspectives, which is, it's quite a highly ranked journal, in 2019 by two Stanford University professors about progress in economics. And they mention that economics for at least a century. Okay. And why is that? So the solution to all this and why economics has made no progress is bank credit. Now, bank credit, and actually you should say fully bank credit creation. This is a concept that's been a taboo or a secret in economics. Banking had been frozen out of economics for a long time. There's no banks in economic models and theories. And that's, of course, also why they don't work. Because in reality, if you ask some ordinary people in the business district of any town, they will tell you, they will mention banks.
Yes.
But ask an economist, an academic research economist, and they will not mention banks.
Well, ask any person. Who do you owe money to? The bank. Some version of the bank.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, the reason is that the economists follow this theory that banks are just financial intermediaries. They just, gather deposits here, do their analysis, credit analysis, risk assessment. The funds and invest. Okay.
Right. They just take a percentage. They're a pass-through.
So they're intermediaries.
Yes.
But that's wrong. That's not what they are. It's one theory of banking, and it's still the one that's still dominant. In all the textbooks and the leading journals, they still use that. But actually, if you look into it, you realize there's three theories of banking. A second theory, slightly older, that was dominant until the 1960s, so-called fractional reserve theory. And you may have heard this fractional reserve banking. What is that? Well, this theory says and this part is similar. Each bank is a financial intermediary. It just collects deposits and then does the analysis, lends out the money. But in aggregate, as banks interact, there's money creation. That's where students' ears should have pricked up. Money creation. They even talk about a money multiplier. What? That's the second theory. Now there's a third theory, and that one had been made out to be a wacky conspiracy theory.
Oh.
But it is the one that was more or less quite widely known until about a century ago.
Mm.
And that's the credit creation theory of banking. And this one says banks are not financial intermediaries. Power that no other player in the economy has, and that is the power to create money. And actually that theory had been called all sorts of names like, this is kooky people and, cranks. Keynes said in his general theory, or it was the treatise on money, these are the cranks who talk about this banks creating money.
I think the average person believes the ability to create money is reserved for governments alone.
That's absolutely correct. In fact, I did a survey with my students in Frankfurt in 2011. My audience was getting larger when I was teaching at Goethe University Frankfurt. I was only sort of for a few years substitute professor, optional courses. So the first one was only 50 students, but next one was already 150. In the end, it was 450. Everyone was there, also from politics and law. And so I thought, this is a great audience. Listen, guys, let's use these numbers. Let's do a survey. So I sent them out, because if you've got so many people, then if everyone does 10 questionnaires, you're talking big numbers. So we did a survey of Central Frankfurt. And one of the questions asked was just this question. Who do you think creates and allocates the majority of the money supply in the economy? And to make it easier, here's the government, the central bank, the financial markets, the banks, and so on, savings, people through their savings, which is another economic theory. So, and the answer was, just as you said, and, you spoke the facts, 84% responded either the government or the central bank are the ones that create and allocate the majority of the money supply. Because that's common sense. It's something very important that clearly affects everything and everyone. It should be in the hands of the government. It's what people feel. But it's not true. That's not how it works. And which one is correct? Well, what's the scientific thing to do? Is to do an empirical test. That's what a scientist would do. But it turns out I was the first to do an empirical test of the three theories of banking.
Empiricism and economics? I didn't know that happened.
Exactly.
You ran experiments and replicated them? I thought that was...
Exactly.
Remember in 2020 when CNN told you the George Floyd riots were mostly peaceful, even as flames rose in the background? It was ridiculous, but it was also a metaphor for the way our leaders run this country. They're constantly telling you, everything is fine. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Control. Nothing to see here. Move along. And obey. No going away. Supply main fragile. It does feel like some kind of global conflict anytime. So the question is, if things went south tomorrow, would you be ready? Well, if you'd be ready, you need Ammo Squared. Ammo Squared is the only service that lets you build an ammunition stockpile autopilot. You pick the calibers you want, how much you want to save every month, then they'll ship it to you, or they'll store it for you and ship it when you say so. You get 24/7 access to manage the whole thing. So don't, people in charge, don't let CNN lull you into a fake control of your life. Protect your family. Go to ammosquared.com.
Well, you can do empirical tests. The replication is dated, whether you can always replicate it, but certainly you can do tests, and we can certainly control for certain things. And that's what it did. And I thought it's crazy that, you had for over a century this debate out. Let's just test whether the theories is in line with the data, and which
So yeah, I just grabbed a little snippet that was talked about and what was being discussed. New to this situation, which is kind of like a podcast. Yeah, it's a podcast, and these are people who work with the government, different forms of government, different agencies, just exposing the corruption. If you're an American, or it basically just exposes what our officials, what our people is doing behind our back with this whole financial system in a way to break free from it. It's pretty interesting, and nevertheless to find out, some things that we may know already, and some things that we may not know. But at the end of the day, it's important the things that our leaders are doing that's affecting us in a positive and or a negative way. It's kind of shocking to me, honestly, to hear some of these things. It's not really like rocket science, because I believe like everybody is playing their part as far as making money and stuff. I talked about Nancy Pelosi the other day, somebody who works for the government, and how they're using their insights to capitalize, which I don't feel like is the wrong thing. You got to take care of yourself in position. People, the banks, you put your money in the bank and you need your money. And when you go to grab your money, it's not there because they're doing all these behind the scenes things that you're not aware of. And where it breaks down a little bit more of what's going on. Then I'll show you guys some to create your own streams of income. So if anything ever was to happen with these banks, or which are such on, but nevertheless, I'm gonna share my screen with you guys. You can check it out, and then we'll get into it with my cryptocurrency, the Tay token. So that's still in the making, and I'm just waiting currently on some approvals. My Gecko coin wasn't approved because of my contract is still waiting on approval. And all this app that I share with you all is called Bitcoin. Bitcoin.com is my interface, but it's yellow and black. This is sort of really can't see. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. So it's where we at with it? It's this little green app right here, the Bitcoin app, and on there, he's doing something similar to what I'm doing, but he's in a further along. He's further along the process, and I was talking about the it's called a hash. A lot of this stuff I'm learning, and for me reading these articles, it's starting to make more sense to me because going through the process, I'm starting to see exactly what they did. Not saying that I'm trying to copy them or be like them, but I have similar dreams and aspirations. And just learning this cryptocurrency stuff, how to create your own cryptos. You got to create the contracts, the product. With that app I was just showing y'all, it's called Bitcoin.com wallet, Bitcoin wallet, and like it looks like black and yellow or whatever. I'm logged in, and what they showing right now is like the free little cryptos that I got that you'll see on my story if you wanna go check out my story. They in fractions. This is what I got from them. This is what that's showing. Um, inside my wallet, but nevertheless, what I was trying to show you was these articles they was talking about with Trump and these. So that's what kind of led me to this video here today about the banks and stuff like that. And these people that are playing these games with the money, and what the way that they're trying to change up the finance stuff like that. How these countries affect each other, affects us, and the way that we consume products and or services. It was like, wow, they got a major money move. The Epstein files and the list and all that type of stuff. It's just really like a direction they're going with the currency, with finances. I like to keep an eye on the finances. Always be a change in life, whether you want it to be or not. And you want to be prepared for these changes so that you can benefit. I think I'm at the wrong. Yeah, here you go. Break down the way that you can capitalize off of these changes in life and with the financial system.
This week, Epstein, a scandal that even and paralyzing Congress with no end in sight. Next.
So you kind of wonder, like, what's going on my screen? Hold on real quick. They playing commercials anyway, so you got a little second, but I ain't gonna hold y'all. I don't even know how to do it there.
Several Trump between West Palm Beach and Teterboro in New York and one to DC. I think his name appeared 4 or 5 times already in what were in the so-called Epstein files that were released by DOJ.
Look, keep bizarre paradox. Really are desperate to escape this scandal. They keep General Todd Blanche just spent 2 days in Florida with Maxwell. What's the calculus?
I mean, if you thought this was an insignificant story and didn't want to pay any attention to it, then you ignore it.
Yeah, I cut that short. It was like a lot of, I don't even know, you know what I'm saying? I said, wow, man. It's what it is. I know, you know what's up with that. But I'm going to end this with some positive notes. Today is August the 3rd. Money's kind of moving along. But never YouTube lately, you know, I'm working on my YouTube and all these other stuff. Not be on here to be active a little bit. Let y'all know what's going on with Team Randy. And also to be an opportunity to join my. But other than that, like shit, you know, I got to do what I got to do. And moving forward, life is constant motion. Anything that's not moving is dead. Bring me the sacrifice of your time. Few of my children take time to sit quietly in my presence. But for those of you who do, blessings flow like streams of living water. I ain't the one whom all blessings flow and blessed by our time together. This is a deep mystery. Do not try to fathom it. Instead, glorify me by delighting in me. Enjoy me now and forever. Psalms chapter 1, verses 26. Chapter 21, verse 6. Right here. My camera a little, well, it's not straight. This is me a little crooked, I guess. I don't know. I'm about to upgrade all my shit, though. I done had this for a long enough. Still learning how to use it, but it's like, you know, it's just everything. Like, I'm just doing what I gotta do. Like, sometimes this shit work with me or something, but it's just bear with it and see what happened with the shit. Like I said, I'm gonna redo everything. I'm gonna just put the video out there. Y'all can check it out and get the information you need. And then this is for today, August 3rd, 2025. Watch your words diligently. Words have such great power to bless or to wound. When you speak carelessly or negatively, you damage others as well as yourself. This ability to granted only to those I created in my image. You need help in building this mighty power responsibly. Though the world applauds quick written reports, my instructions about communication are quite different. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Ask my spirit to help you whenever you speak. I have trained you to pray. Help me, Holy Spirit, before answering the phone. And you have seen the benefits of this discussion with people around you. If you are silent, pray before speaking to them. If they are talking, pray before responding. There are split-second prayers, but they put you in touch with my presence. In this way, your speaking comes under the control of my spirit. As positive speech patterns replace your negative ones, the increase in your joy will amaze you. Proverbs 12 and 18. Look, there it is. Y'all can see that. Some of my notes at the bottom. It's a mini little book that I got from a friend that I still have. Whether she wanted me to have it or not, I have it. I figure if you leave something like this behind, you didn't want it. And I definitely do read. I have a lot of little books, but this is one for the whole year. The ones that I do have is for 3 months at a time this season. They're called Daily Bread. They're pretty dope. Just give them away for free. I'm gonna try to play this one time. If it work, it work. If not, then you know what it is. I'll be back and posting a full video with everything. I'm not y'all. All right, here we go. Back on topic. So I'm gonna run this back. Well, not this one. Oh yeah.
For 2 full days to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell for sex trafficking, extraordinary development. And when other case do you see like that? And it's not just that, Frank. When you think about it, the Times had a great story about all resources that have gone into this, reviewing these files, saying hundreds. I am told it's actually about 1,000 personnel from the FBI and the DOJ.
1,000 personnel.
1,000 people at the FBI and DOJ have been working to review these files for a matter of months. People doing before they were tasked with this assignment. Terrorism cases, they are now, a significant part of the manpower of our National Security Division has been spent looking at these files.
A biography of Trump. Can you help me understand? There's no evidence that there's anything revelatory. Why, if he's innocent, does he act so guilty all the time?
We've seen that on other occasions too, right? The Mueller investigation found no proof of Russia, and yet he seemed to act like there was one, right? He seemed to act very close to Russia, very admiring of Putin, and by firing people like Jim Comey back in his first term, you act like you've done something wrong, you're trying to cover it up. And so, yeah, he is his own worst enemy in this way. He brings like he's trying to hide something by denying the obvious, right there. As Jonathan said, it's already out there. It's not a mystery because, again, we already knew he was a friend of Epstein's, and yet he that way. But I think it's part of his, his habit is to deny, even provable truths. It's just never DNA to admit, much less acknowledge. Or well, I think it's from his father. I think his upbringing to something he was taught. You never ever give in, never give an inch, ever. You're a killer. Well, doesn't give in. It doesn't apologize. That he made a mistake in being friends with Jeffrey.
About this scandal, and I want to quote from it. This scandal, then, is a revelation that Trump was a sexual monster who exploited underage women, since it is not a revelation. The president lied to the American people, something he does with such a horrid man, and voted for him anyway. Now, between Trump and a favorite conspiracy, they may just the conspiracy theory. Of all the many Trump scandals, why is that seems to be the one that has gained traction and apparently tormented his base in the way.
I think that's a really important question for us to be asking, Frank. If you think about it, in an administration where every day there's some new outrage or controversy, where you could argue that the scandals get to the core of who we are as a country, right? I mean, we're talking about the monetization, court orders, hacking individual judges. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. So what is in this becoming a scandal, so many other things haven't? I mean, just to be totally frank, I would rather be talking else than this. Okay, we were talking about convicted sexual offender who has been dead for 6 years. Prosecuted, sent to jail. We're talking about spending 2 days of his valuable time going to interview the also convicted accomplice of that long dead sexual offender, right? So on some level, it's a perversion of our politics that we are talking about this, and it reflects, of course, very poorly on the man in the White House who was friends with such a person. But I just think it tells us something about the nature of Trump's alliance with the MAGA movement, that he's both a leader but unleashed so many lies, conspiracy theories, diversions, untruths, and that this particular one, at least for now, to even do what they're not willing to do on any of the other many lies and conspiracy. I think it's quite interesting to wonder whether this is who stick with Donald Trump through the most outrageous untruths are demanding and want to give right now.
And part of it is scandal. The Epstein/Trump of it all goes at the heart of kind of what it's about, which is powerful out of it, right? And usually Donald Trump is screwed, right? Usually Donald Trump is talking about how these interests in Washington, D.C., and you're seeing Donald Trump being one of the people doing the defending and the protecting of the powerful people, and him being one of the powerful people themselves. That's why I think he can't shake it, because they love a conspiracy. When you talk to people, the pedophile ring.
But let's be clear here that, we act as though these poor people were misled and now they're shocked. They've known that for years, okay? Exactly. How many times have, we inflicted upon images of Donald Trump and Jeffrey, video of him,